Hey Patriots, it's Patrick and Matt. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about something that we think is hugely important and that a lot of us look over sometimes in the prepping community and then in the gun culture. Communication is huge, and anytime we're in any kind of situation where the power's down, the grid's down, that's going to be the first thing that fails. Being able to communicate with others is hugely important. So we suggest, and listen, let's start by saying we are not the experts in ham technology.
Definitely not.
My buddy Evan is really good at it, and he has taught a class for us. And if you are interested in taking that locally, let us know. We do a ham radio crash course. So we kind of get you ready to go, but it's not a tech license. It's not like a license class. It's like, this is what you need the radio for. This is why we do it.
Streamlining your purchase.
Right.
Sure.
So helping you kind of pick what you need before you ever get started. The gear section's all kind of sorted out for you.
Wading through the minutia, because believe me,
it's tough, guys.
Minutia.
It is very. You can geek out really quick if you're into technical stuff and you're a technical dude. Like, you can geek out really quick on the radio stuff.
Sure.
I used to be, an officer, so like to me, it's all about I want it to work and talk to the people I need to talk to. I don't give a crap. Yeah. Like, when it didn't work, I take it to my radio guy. I'm like, fix that, make it work. Yeah. But now, as a prepper, I'm learning that there's more value into actually knowing that knowledge, guys. You have to know how to make these things run and how to make them work.
It really reminds me of knowing the intricacies of your gun.
It is. It's kind of like if you can run the gun, but it doesn't. If it breaks down, can you fix it? That's kind of the way these
Cycle
are.
Operations and malfunction clearing.
And when you're in the military or you're a police officer or something, you have a comms guy. You have the guy you go to that knows all this stuff. Yeah. But when you're by yourself, and let's just say, we're seeing some historical things happen right now. People getting, banned on Facebook and Instagram. Yep. If the president of the United States can get banned, yep, how long before they come for you and us?
And some military back channel intelligence, possibly talking about just kind of continental blackout.
So it could be possible that you can't have your cell phone, you can't have these social media platforms to communicate. If that happens, I think this would be a reliable way to do so. Now, it's not 100% foolproof, right? Like, we can't communicate forever distances simplex, which is just this one to this one. You can't talk that far. We're talking maybe 5-10 miles just simplex. If you're using like a repeater, now we can start to stretch the distance a little bit. We can start to get a little farther out and maybe get to where, think of it like a CB. You have to still be kind of in the vicinity, but we could reach our whole group, our local group, through ham radio. Now, I think this is a huge asset. If you cannot communicate, it really puts you in the dark, and you'd be really surprised how nice it would be if you were in trouble just to be able to reach out and talk to somebody. To be able to know what's going on in a different location and not have to physically be there. All of that is intelligence gathering that you need to know. So we're just going to talk a little bit about radios. I am not the expert, so don't hold me to that. This is just something I think is important, and I wanted to do a video showcasing some things for you guys, some considerations you might want to think about. So probably the most commonly bought one is the Baofeng. Like, everybody from the Taliban to preppers uses the Baofeng, right? So they're really popular. They're really cheap. You can get a bundle of them for like $120 and have 5 or 6 of them to hand out to other people.
Yeah, they're cheap.
They're like $150, $120.
Yeah, about $30 a piece.
Yeah, they're like $30 in the range a piece. They are going a little bit higher, I think, as we go.
Demand for them as we speak.
But I would say that this is probably the most popular. Now, this one I have added an external extended battery, which I highly, highly recommend.
We're going to do a separate video on that one?
I think we'll do a separate video and talk about that later. But just realize there's a couple different kind of levels that you can get. So this would be kind of on the lower end, cheap. They have a purpose, though. These are for what you get for the money, they're pretty outstanding. So it is not, don't feel like you have to spend a bunch to get in the game. What's more important is that you take the time to get your license, go out there, get your technician license, so you start practicing now. That is something Matt and I are currently working on ourselves. So again, I'm not telling you that we are the end-all be-all in this stuff. We're not. I'm just asking you that if you are interested in radios, there are cheap options that you can kind of get into the game and start learning. The big thing is learning, though. Like, it's a lot to this stuff that you can't just buy this radio and throw it in a bag and think you're going to be able to use it. It won't work that way. You have to know how to program it. You have to know how to make it work, how to use
program the repeaters in too. Right?
You have to know how to use the repeaters. This one would be much more difficult to use over one like this. Now, this is a little bit more high-end radio. Both of them are wearing, a lot of aftermarket parts like the signal stick antenna here, which is a great one. They all have like some special upgrades that I've done. But this is a much better radio. You're going to spend a lot more for it, like maybe $150.
You can get about 6 of these or one of those.
But you're getting a much more quality piece with this, and you won't be made fun of in the radio community. And there is something to say about that. You will produce hate with a Baofeng. Like I'm just telling you.
But if you're trying to get a few folks up to comms quickly,
this is going to be your better option.
That might be an option.
Because you can do, like I said, 5 people with this one and one, maybe 1 person with this one. But if you're looking to buy a more permanent solution and you want one that's more bang for your buck, a little bit better radio, you might be interested in something like this Yaesu. This is the FT60R. Much better radio, easier to work, easier to program in the repeaters and stuff. It does a lot of stuff for you. I'm not trying to say I'm a ham radio expert. But I would say that if you're looking for a higher quality piece, you might want to look in something to like the Yaesu. All of these are going to have different accessories you're going to have to look up to tech-wise. Some things you might want to look at, like for the Yaesu, we have a backup battery that runs off of the AA batteries, and we can put that in to extend our life. This one, like we said, we use the extended battery. Again, it's about using it and being able to keep it in the field longer. Sure. The big upgrade with this one is all of these will come with like a desktop mount that you can set on the desk and charge them. But if you're out in the field, it's not very practical. You can't carry that big brick of a thing around. So that extended battery is huge because you can get a USB charger and be able to charge this from any USB source. So a lot of us are familiar with these and have in our cars and all over the place. So this is a huge upgrade, I think.
I think you just did the other video.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
So if you're looking to upgrade that radio, that's a huge feature. This one, you have to buy the separate pieces that go to your car that you can do that. So all of these are going to have their own unique systems to make them charge and run. And you don't have to have all of these pieces, but they are handy pieces if you're getting into it. Something else you might want to consider and think about would be something like this. This is something that you would use as like an earpiece to make the radio quiet and silent. It has a push to talk that we can push down here to make it work versus having to actually have hands on. This would be great if you were using it in some kind of plate carrier or chest rig, something like that, where you want communications hand-free, pretty much hands-free without having to hold the radio. This would be another upgrade you might be looking at. Again, all these pieces are separate charges and up things. You don't have to have them, but they're sometimes very, very nice to have. But that's pretty much, when it comes to the gear part, don't get wrapped around the axle on which radio you buy. I think the most important thing is that you get out there and you start studying. My buddy Evan told me, hamstudy.com is where you go. You go on there, you start taking those tests, you start learning the stuff, you take practice tests, and when you get those down and you can pass that, you can go now, from what I understand, because of the way things are and the kind of unprecedented COVID and all this stuff, they're now allowing you to take your tech license online. You have to be able to be proctored via telephone, so one of you will have to have like a video, recording while you're actually taking the test, like on your home computer. So, but most of us have that availability. So if you've used Zoom and other things to do corporate stuff or anything like that, it's much easier to do this than it is that. So I think that it would be something that it would be wise for us patriots to be starting looking into. We're really behind the 8 ball. We should have done this already. It's one of those things that we all put to the back burner because it's not glamorous, right? And this, I'm not going to lie, the technical jargon and the way to take it, it's a lot of dry stuff to kind of push through. But I do think it's important. In an emergency, you can use this without having your tech license. I know that. We can plug these things up, but I'm telling you, if you don't have a little bit of training on this stuff, it's just like having a gun with no training. It makes you pretty useless. So if you have somebody you can reach out to, an Elmer, somebody that can help you study this stuff and learn it, I think it's wise now, guys, before it's too late. We're in unprecedented times, and I think that we are looking at some pretty serious stuff. So if you're in the prepping world, if you're in the gun community, if you're a patriot, one of our guys, please start training, guys. Start looking into this radio stuff. Don't just leave it laying there and think you'll get to it later. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Okay? Anything you want to add, Matt?
Maybe the differentiation between these, as far as why these might be preserved versus like cell phones and DMs and stuff like that.
So this is kind of old technology. It's been around for a lot longer than cell phone towers and stuff like that. Some of it still works very similar. Again, I'm not exactly the expert on this stuff, but the difference is this is uncontrolled. I can, as long as I can power this up, I can shoot things into the airwaves or into the radio waves on a certain frequency, and whoever is around can get it. There are pros and cons to that. If you're around and you're my enemy, you can pick that up. But if you don't know like where we're at, what we're doing, what frequencies we're at, it's really hard to kind of track all the different frequencies on the board, right? So, you know, there are pros and cons to it. Obviously, the distance being the major con. You're going to spend a lot of money to get lots of distance out of these things. But on the other side, this is kind of uncontrolled. Like the government can't shut this down for you. There is ways that they can manipulate it, I know, but it's a much more maybe permanent solution because it's like its own independent thing. It's not dependent on the towers and stuff like that. Now it could be dependent if you can reach someone right now on a repeater and the repeater's not working. You know, repeater gets put down, then you might not be able to reach that distance. But if you have a small team that you're working with or a group of guys, to be able to talk to them and communicate without having to, see them or be in line of sight is huge. So just my 2 cents on it, guys. If you have time and you really need to make time to put the time in with this stuff and start to learn it now before it's too late.
We got a link for this stuff?
Yeah, I'll link it Amazon link in the description. The battery upgrade, I want to say, was like $40 for two, so $20 per one. I think you can get them individually if you want to. I think it's a little cheaper if you buy it in a 2-pack. So I bought 2 of them, and I think it makes it much more user friendly.
Looks like it would fit like in a mag pouch. So
it's a little bit more something to hold on to, a little bit more user friendly. I think having that on there and having the capability to charge it with a USB is huge. Like that's a big deal.
Worst, beat somebody with it a little better. Maybe not. That one's heavier though.
This one is a lot heavier than this one, and I think it's because of the quality of the components. Right, you pay more for this because you're getting more for this. But as an entry level Yaesu, I don't think you can go wrong with the FT60R. After all my research and talking to a lot of other ham people, I think this is kind of a lot of people are liking the Yaesus.
So get out there and get learned.
Yep, try to go if you can, guys, and get those tech licenses. I like to be able to check in with my Patriots and know what's going on, regardless of what social media and the other part of the planet's doing. So, till next time, carry smart, carry safe, and be prepared to communicate.